In 2019, Christine Forbes, a former member of Bank of England's Monetary Policy Committee, asked a key question. If globalization's disinflationary effects previously made it easier for major central banks to pursue and maintain low inflation, will increasing deglobalization have the opposite effect? The term deglobalization can be measured, can be defined by the process of diminishing interdependence and integration between nations. It is well known that the United States benefit greatly from globalization. In contrast, deglobalization is causing the trade barriers, unwinding capital flow, which are creating a complex situation in the US economy, has many costs such as increasing cost of services, products, and geopolitical tension. Therefore, I propose the US should implement a new free trade agreement with European Union, which follows the proposal of Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership Agreement proposed by Obama administration. If such agreement can successfully be implemented in the US and the EU, both could see huge economic gains. In my speech, I will discuss how deglobalization impacts on global trade and capital flow that is responsible for a complex situation in the US economy already started to suffer. First, I need to clear how deglobalization is measured and impact the economy. The term deglobalization is measured by the cross-border flows of products and services, foreign direct investment or FDI, and other types of financial assets and migration. According to a United States Trade Representative report, the US is the premier destination for the foreign direct investment. Besides, USTR reported that over 26% of the global FDI stock was invested in the US during 2020. The selling points of the US are the commitment to the rule and law, economic openness, and political stability made the US easier in the competition to attract the FDI and made the world's second manufacturing sector. If deglobalization increases, it will start to threat cross-border trade and investment. As a result, it will reduce global trade and capital flows, which will also reduce the flow of FDI and migration. Moreover, the World Bank estimated that the FDI started to drop since 2009. Furthermore, the Census Bureau reported foreign migration into the United States has been unusually low since peaking in 2016. This complication is creating trade barrier that might worry policymaker, worker, business leader in the US. If the FDI started to reduce its flow, it will not only impact greatly on US economy and manufacturing center, but also it will destroy developing economies. It may seem exaggeration about deglobalization, but recent trade barrier created between US and China, decline FDI and migration indicate that deglobalization is well underway. Although deglobalization may economically benefit a small group of citizens or companies or country, but it will overall decrease the economic growth and living standard. Deglobalization should take the responsibility for increasing production and labor cost. According to a data by US Bureau of Labor Statistics, estimated that the core goods inflation in the United States has increased sharply from less than 2% at the start of 2021 to 6% in the mid-2022. The blame is pointed to deglobalization, which should well accepted due to the reduction of global trade, unwinding capital flows, new barriers to migration, and declining influence of multilateral institutions. While globalization acted as a disinflationary force by reducing labor and production costs, deglobalization is introducing high tariffs and geopolitical tension, which making the inflation worse. We can't deny the looming deglobalization threat to US economy, but few steps can be taken by the government that can reduce the trade barrier and increase the flow of FDI and migration. Therefore, it's necessary for US government to implement a free trade agreement with European Union, like the proposal of Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership Agreement proposed by Obama administration. The TTIP was a major free trade agreement proposal that was negotiated from 2013 to 2016. Unfortunately, the TTIP was scrapped by President Trump and he initiated a trade war with Europe, which made the situation bitter for both sides. If US can implement this agreement, it will not only increase the FDI but also increase the migration, which will smooth the regulations and the compliance procedures for many goods and services. According to an estimate on TTIP, it would have removed 98 to 100% of tariffs and 10 to 25% of non-tariff barrier to trade between the US and the EU. In addition, another estimate on TTIP suggested that it would have increased the US GDP on estimated 75 billion US dollars and the EU GDP on estimated 64 billion dollars in each year. Even though there is a question rises on the US employment whether the impact is good or bad for US worker. But fortunately, the free trade agreement will increase the wages and job opportunities for the US worker. According to a policy report on TTIP, said low-wage American workers would see their wages increase about 0.4% on average, and high-skilled American workers would see an increase of about 0.3%. Also, an economic report by the Atlantic Council estimated that TTIP would have added 740,000 new American jobs. Moreover, Europe would be benefited by gaining 400,000 new jobs in Europe. If free trade agreement can be implemented following TTIP by Obama administration, it will ease the trade barrier first, then it will escalate the supply of productions and service, and later reduces the product and labor costs. Thus, the new free trade agreement will help to contribute to US international competitiveness, jobs, and overall economic growth. So, I discussed the looming threat of deglobalization for the economy that is responsible for trade barrier and unwinding capital flows, and why US need to implement free trade agreement with the EU. If we want to solve the problem newly appeared in the economy, for the sake of future, we must implement this free trade agreement. We can't avoid deglobalization, but we can save the economy. Thank you.